everyone, it is Matt here from Scoop in Response, and today we are going to be looking at a new commander, which is Carth the Lion, which has been announced with Modern Horizons 2. So Carth is pretty sweet. I've played a little bit of Atraxa, who's another Super Friends commander, and I didn't really enjoy it. I found it to be a little bit too broad, a bit too just good stuffy. And even though the proliferate ability on Atraxa is really sweet, it doesn't necessarily give you like any kind of huge advantage that just the doubling seasons and the chain veils actually, give you much more, I guess, relevantly. So Carth is a 2 black-green legendary creature human warrior. Whenever Carth the Lion enters the battlefield or a planeswalker you control dies, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Planeswalker's loyalty abilities you activate cost an additional 1+ to activate. So that is just absolutely sweet overall. So what that really means is that if you have a -1 ability on a Planeswalker, it becomes a 0. If you have a 0, it becomes a +1. If you have a +1, it becomes a +2. And that's really how that works. So not only is this commander continuously finding new Planeswalkers to cast, you're actually getting an opportunity to ult them a lot quicker. And in a lot of instances, it can be, the same turn that they are cast. It can be the turn after they're cast rather than 4 or 5 turns after you've cast them. So absolutely impactful overall. So this list I have built going into the theme of Planeswalkers as deep as I possibly can. There is definitely better green-black combos in here. We've already got the Lily, the Professor Onyx, so you can put Chain of Smog in your deck if you want to, because it just combos for the win for that. Much the same with the Bloom Apprentice. Easily you can put that in the list too. They're both perfectly fine includes. For this list, I'm trying to keep it as pure about the non-instant win, non-sort of deterministic combo type Planeswalker effects as we can go. So we're going to be making a whole bunch of tokens. We're going to be going wide with the tokens. We're going to be controlling the board with lots of, down-tick sacrifice or destroy effects. We're going to be making, a whole bunch of blockers, and we're going to be ultimating and getting those emblems as best we can as well. So we'll jump straight in. We'll look at the Planeswalkers first of all. So first off, we've got Grist the Hunger Tide, which is a new Modern Horizons card as well. Super cool, can actually be your commander, which is really sweet because it's a creature in every area apart from the battlefield, and that actually works before the start of the game too. So it's always a creature, so you can use it as your commander. So it basically says, when it's not on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types. So you can Green Sun Zenith for it. You can do all sorts of cool things with that. I just love this card. I think it's really sweet, and really excited to sort of see whether or not this thing, I think it's going to be absolutely insane in some of the constructed formats, particularly Legacy, but yeah, Modern, I'm keen to see what it does. In this, I think it's just a really good value piece. If you get it late game, it's probably pretty awesome, particularly if you get to, just use it as a life loss, it's just a big burn spell basically. So its uptick is create an insect token and mill a card. And if it's an insect card, you mill, you put a loyalty counter on it, and you repeat it. We're not running any insects, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Then you've got a down tick, sacrifice creature when you do destroy target creature or planeswalker, and then each opponent loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So really sweet card. I'm not going to go into all of them. I just thought I'd give you a bit more info on this one purely because it is a new card. Next up, we've got Lily of the Veil. So, very standard black planeswalker card, really sweet. With Carth out, you can be activating this the second turn that it is on the battlefield. So you tick it up from 3 to 5, and then you can activate it for -5 to have everyone sack, or have one player, put all of their opponents into 2 piles, and you can sacrifice. Have them sacrifice all of those things. So just absolutely insane for a 2-turn clock on that. Garruk the Wildspeaker, untap 2 lands, put a beast creature token into the battlefield, and it's got an overrun effect for the ultimate. Liliana and the Liliana Walker of the Dead. It's kind of like a bigger Lily of the Veil. You've got an emblem that basically you can put creature cards from a graveyard onto the battlefield and give it haste. So it's just a continuous reanimation with haste. Absolutely sick. Tyvar, elves have tap to add black. You get to make tokens, you get to put counters, give death touch to things, and yeah, do cool stuff with elves. You can get the emblem whenever you cast an elf spell, gains haste, and you draw 2 cards, so really awesome there. Vraska Golgari Queen, another sweet card. It's card draw, it's destroy, and then you can, basically get the emblem sometimes with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. It's really sweet. Vital Force, I think it's just a good mid-range threat. Basically you can play it the turn it comes out for its emblem. You get an emblem with whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So that's absolutely insane to have that emblem. Will work with the for the rest of the game for just a 5-mana spell to do that. Really sweet. Nissa, who shakes the world. You can get it off in a few turns. This is dominated, standard, and historic, but sweet card overall. Particularly if you've got your doubling season or your chain veil, you can activate that emblem really quickly and get like 10 lands out of your deck. Nissa Worldwaker, untap up to 4 target forests is the main reason for this one. You'll see that the average CMC for all of our planeswalkers are pretty high, so we want to have a lot of ramp effects with these planeswalkers. What's really cool with this, there's the new green Urborg Yavimaya. It's just a green Urborg, so all of your stuff's forest, so you can untap anything you want. So even if it's a much better land than just a basic forest, it's pretty sweet. Obnixilis, card draw and destroy effects. Vivian, cast creatures off the top of your deck, make counters, and then you can kind of like, you play like a 6-drop and you can search for a 5-drop type thing. Yeah, really sweet there. Garruk, Curse Huntsman, you can activate the emblem straight away to give everything +3/+3 and have trample all of your creatures. So that's really sweet. It's got destroy, draw effects, and you can create tokens as well. So just absolutely gas card. Liliana Dreadhorde General, big Lily, absolutely sweet. Draws cards, you use it to create more blockers, you have people sacrifice their stuff, and then you can have each of your opponent choose a permanent they control of each permanent type and then sacrifice the rest. And that can happen the second turn that you have it on the battlefield if you have your commander in play. Professor Onyx, it's got that Magecraft ability, copy or cast instant spells, everyone loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. You can lose life and look at the top cards of your library. You can have everyone who is your opponent sacrifice creatures, and it's the biggest creature, so that's pretty sweet. You've got like this Torment of Hellfire type effect on the downtick, the ultimate. Ugin, the Ineffable, the colorless cost reduction is like reasonably relevant, I guess. There's a few rocks, so occasionally you might just find that you can turbo out your Ugin, and then you get to play 3 of your mana rocks for free, and that's kind of cool. That's like Magical Christmas Land. It's really just because it's got a destroy effect and you can exile cards to make more blockers. So I think it's absolutely sweet. Garruk Apex Predator, just another big dude. There's not really a lot more to be said. We've talked about it. Tokens, destroy, and you get emblems. Once again, 1 uptick, and then you can cast it the next turn, the emblem. Opponent gets an emblem when you attack it with a creature, or anyone attacks it with a creature, it gets 5/5 and gains trample, so that's super mean. Card Liberated, just obviously sweet card. It's never going to get killed in terms of the damage because you can uptick it to like 11 the first turn it comes out. And then obviously you've got that weird restart the game effect. I've never seen that really happen in a commander pod, purely because it's so annoying. Most people just tend to scoop as soon as that happens. Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, bolt on a stick, exile everything, and then you can activate him to do all the fun stuff as well. Moving on to creatures, we've got all the dorks, Arbor Elf, Birds of Paradise, Deathrite Shaman, more elves, blah, blah, blah. Bloom Tender, Priest of Titania, both great cards as well. We've got this little elf package here. That's really just because you want a little bit of efficient ramp to go with, with your big spells. And these tend to work really well because we've got a few, cards that care about the number of creatures that you have on the battlefield. We're running Cradle. You've got Tyvar Kell, so he cares about that stuff too. A lot of synergy there with the Titania and whatnot. Wall of Blossoms, it's just card draw and a booty, so really sweet. Eternal Witness, obvious in this any kind of deck with green. If you're running a green deck and it doesn't have Eternal Witness, I'm really curious to know why, because it's just too good of a card. Evolution Sage, landfall, proliferate, insane in this deck. Opposition Agent, don't really need much explanation with that one. Peer, Imaginative Rascal. So if you haven't played this card, it's a bit weird. It's like a hardened scales for counters, but any counters, not just +1/+1. So it's pretty sweet. So if one or more counters would be put on a permanent your team controls, that means +1 of each of those counters are put on that permanent instead. And note that it says that if they're put on the permanent, so this isn't like the situation where because you're paying a cost, it's that counters are being put on your Planeswalker, so it will add an extra one with that. Yawgmoth is just a proliferate on a body, so you can pay 2, discard a card, proliferate. That's sick. Kodama of the Eastery, you want to do this to play your 6-drop Planeswalker, and then you can put your 5-drop Planeswalker in free, and maybe that's something that lets you untap 4 land, and then you can play another Planeswalker and you put another Planeswalker in for free. It's absolutely gas when you've got all of these sort of consolidated in value and consolidated in size creatures. So yeah, just absolutely insane with that. Vorinclex, the new one. So this is just a sort of doubling season type effect on a body. Really sweet overall for that. So you're just using it to, you slam that one down and then you get to ultimate the same turn it comes off. So really awesome with that. Looking at our spells, we've got Green Sun Zenith, Demonic Tutor, Farseek, 3 Visits, Toxic Deluge, and Damnation. So while you do have some really important early cards for the deck, all of your dorks and everything like that, because all of our threats mostly are Planeswalkers, you have the option to kind of control the board, wipe everything, and then we're not losing card advantage by using all of our token producers on Planeswalkers to create our new state of blockers, essentially. So the wipes are really sweet in this type of deck. You want to use it sparingly. Like if you've got like an absolute premium threat creature out, like an opposition agent that's locking your opponents out from searching or something like that, then obviously you don't want to waste your board wipe unless it's looking absolutely relevant. But really sweet overall. Instance wise, we've got Crop Rotation. So you can use this to go and get your Gaia's Cradle, you can use this to go and get your Urborg or your Cabal Coffers, or you can use this to go and get any of the awesome lands that are in this list that we'll go over in the future. It's a super relevant card in this list. While we're not doing any Gitrog shenanigans or anything like that, it's just to basically chain up a whole bunch of mana where it's relevant. If you want to sort of, go further down that path, you can run things like Cryptghast and all of that. So, going to add even more mana. I didn't quite squeeze it into this list, although I wouldn't blame you for putting it in if you wanted to. Nature's Claim, Noxious Revival, really, really great cards overall. Putting cards from your graveyard to top of the library and then destroying enchantments or artifacts at instant speed. Both of these super relevant. Vamp Tutor, Tutors are great, obviously. Veil, Protection, Abrupt Decay, and Assassin's Trophy are just premium removal spells, super useful. And Force of Vigor, if we see anything that is too problematic that we can't deal with, it's more just like a catch-all for where we need it. Yeah, in terms of artifacts and enchantments, not too crazy compared to the last video, which had a huge number of enchantments overall. So we're just running all of our premium ramp. Well, not even all of it. It's more like your necessary ramp. So your Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, Sol Ring, Arcane Signet. Those are obviously all insane cards. But then you've got Fellwastone, Golgari, Signet, Talisman of Resilience, Wishclaw Talisman. That's probably the next tier of the relevant ramp for this. Because we've got so many, I guess, pip intensive spells, I don't think things like Mana Vault or Grim Monolith are really, excuse me, oh my god, not particularly that useful in this list. Ensnaring Bridge is really cool. Obviously, you want to think about, when you want to have this one out. I think Ensnaring Bridge is great if you draw it early and you want to use it to sort of stop everyone in their tracks. It does 2 things. It saves your life total for those 2 or 3 extra turns that you might get where people aren't going to be attacking you. But it also baits out removal that you might care about a little bit more, hitting something like the Sword of Truth and Justice or the Chain Veil or something like that, those premium artifacts that we really care about. Sword of Truth and Justice is just proliferate on a stick. Chain Veil is you get to activate your loyalty abilities twice. So just absolutely gas in this deck. Enchantments, we have Carpet of Flowers, Oath of Nissa, Utopia Sprawl, Wild Growth, Sylvan Library, Oath of Liliana, Phyrexian Arena, and Doubling Season. If you want to put Necropotence in the deck, put Necropotence in the deck. If you want to put, your favorite enchantments, I say go for it. There's so many options in these colors for good enchantments. I tried to find the balance around the Planeswalker utility plus just, good cards. So Doubling Season, obviously insane because you get to, throw down a Planeswalker and it's got double the counters, so just so good. Anything's going to be ultimating the turn it comes into play, and yeah, essentially just a gas card for that. It also doubles the number of tokens, so probably the MVP for the deck. You got your premium ramp. Oath of Nissa, is kind of cool. It's a bit cantrippy, but it also gives you a bit of color fixing for your actual planeswalkers. So yeah, always happy about that. It's definitely not necessary. If you find something, maybe you want to put that Cryptghast in or something like that, or you want something spicy to throw into the list, Oath of Nissa is probably looking good for a cut. Finally, we've got lands, so it shouldn't really be anything surprising here. We've got, it's a super expensive mana base. Go and proxy the stuff that you don't have if you want to try it out at full power. I don't expect everyone to own Cradles and Bayous and, all of that stuff. Thankfully, though, we've had a few reprints recently, which is pretty sweet. So you've got Cabal Coffers getting reprinted in Modern Horizons 2, so that is absolutely awesome. We've got all the relevant fetches. Cavern of Souls is another one. Khan's Bastion and Field of the Dead are probably two of the better colorless lands. So we've got Proliferate where we need to create more zombies. The interesting thing with this list is I really was a bit torn about how I wanted to build Carth, because I actually feel like he would be an absolutely sweet zombie tribal commander because of all of the synergies that you've got going into all of the Lilianas. But I didn't quite go down that route, but if anyone's got a list, I would absolutely love to see that, so please feel free to post that in the description in the comments. For the most part, we just got a reasonably heavy amount of basics so that we can get them back with the Nissa ultimates and things like that. Phyrexian Tower, Urborg, and the new Yavimaya, which is the green Urborg. So yeah, that's pretty much the list. I think this deck will be super fun. I really struggled, as I mentioned at the start of the video, playing Atraxa, and it was mostly because I kind of found it just generic and kind of like not too focused. You just sort of, we'll play a Teferi or something like that, and we'll just, draw a card, exile a thing, and didn't really feel like there was anything that happens in an Atraxa deck. Now, I realize Atraxa is literally one of the most popular commanders, on the internet. It's got some of the highest counts on EDH rec and everything like that. But my experience in playing the deck, and I built it quite strong, was that one of two things happen. Either you get to resolve some game-breaking emblem straight away and you win, or everyone just hates on every single threat that you play. And there wasn't really much in the way of a mid-range for those experiences for me. I think I probably played about 15 games with my Atraxa deck before I pulled it apart. With this, I'm hoping, now I don't know because we don't have the cards yet, but what I'm hoping is that this deck will feel more like a contender rather than something that's either playing from way ahead or way behind. And that's something in Commander that I really don't enjoy, is that playing from behind or playing from really far ahead, because essentially they're just probably the most boring parts of Magic when there's no tension about who's actually ahead, and it's super obvious. So yeah, look, that's the list. I really appreciate everyone checking out the channel. Would love any subscribes, any likes. We're a third of the way to partner now, which is really sweet. The list of subscribers is growing every day. I'm super stoked about that. We're going to be doing some cool things soon. I've got some giveaways coming through that's going to be available to anyone around the world, not just people within Australia. We've got a whole bunch of things happening with some more gameplay videos. We're going to be doing some webcam leagues. One of the things that I would say is if you would like to get put on the shortlist for playing some webcam games, leave a comment in the description. Basically, we're looking for anyone who wants to play some Commander games. Do need to have 2 webcams though. We want to have people's faces and their play spaces happening at the same time. But yeah, that's something that I'm working on with a few other streamers at the moment. And in the future we'll hopefully get some of that underway. The last thing I would say is I haven't really done a good job of this in the past, but we do have a Discord server that I'm trying to grow. Until you actually hit that partner level with with YouTube, I can't do things like post a status on my YouTube channel or anything like that. So if I want to just see if anyone's up for games or anything like that, I really don't have an avenue outside of posting a video asking if people are interested in playing a game. So yeah, if you want to get more involved with the channel, would love you to check out the Discord. The link will be in the description as always, right next to the deck list and all of the other usual stuff. Thanks so much for checking out the video. Hope you're as psyched for Modern Horizons 2 as I am. I am going to be punching out a whole bunch of content. We'll be doing a full set review very soon. And then I'm just going to be playing a whole bunch of Modern as well. So if you don't hear from me after a couple of weeks for a week or so, it's because I'm just absolutely pumping Modern, which is just an absolutely awesome format for me as well. So yeah, thanks so much for checking out the video, and I shall see you next time.